Hi, this is Michelle Medrano, and I'm happy today to have an opportunity to speak to a wonderful friend of Mile High Church. Doug Goodfeather's here with us today. I don't know him as well as a lot of people here at Mile High do, so I'm fortunate that I get to ask him some really wonderful questions, things that I've been wanting to know about him, things that I bet you've been wanting to know about him, and just get to know him better. So welcome, Doug. It's so great to be here with you.
Thank you.
So you have been a good friend of Mile High's for a very long time, haven't you?
Many years. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your life, some of the highlights that have formed and fashioned and contributed to you being who you are. And I want to hear a little bit about your history, and then we're going to talk more about the wonderful work you do in this world. Mm-hmm. So can you give us some sense of how was your childhood, where'd you grow up, stuff like that?
Well, I'll introduce myself in my Lakota language. I'll say, Apetukile chante washte yuha choose up below, washte choose up below, and we are washte mielo. My name is Doug Goodfeather. I'm from the Standing Rock, Lakota and Dakota Nation on the South Dakota side because it goes both into North and South Dakota. I was born and raised on the South Dakota side in a little village called Rock Creek, and I was born and raised there, and by my grandparents. And they raised me there all my life, but now I reside here in Louisville, Colorado, and doing the work here, and that has come into my life. Mm-hmm. And but I was born and raised in Standing Rock, South Dakota. I was raised just a very simple traditional life with language and culture and just. It was abundance in my life, and it really shaped me into my future. And so everything that I use today, everything that I do today is through that culture. And the way I speak, the way I carry myself, and what I believe in, and how I use that culture to help people, to help them in a healthier way in life.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Did you have siblings there with you, or was it just you and your grandparents and your family?
I was adopted. Okay. And I was adopted by relatives from my biological mom. Her relatives adopted me, and they were elder people. And so they adopted 5 of us. I was the middle one. There's 2 older ones, and there's 2 younger ones. And that's the way we were raised up, all boys.
All boys, oh my.
All boys, yeah. Yeah. And it's really amazing how that story became about, too, because when my grandma who raised me, it was my grandpa that I was blood related to, but my grandma, his wife, when she was a young child, she had 3 different kinds of sickness, and they thought she wasn't going to make it. And through our traditional ways of praying and believing, that used that. And she got well. But she was told that she was not meant to have children after that sickness because it ruined that part of her life. But she was to adopt children and raise them like her own. So she adopted 5 of us, and she raised us in a very traditional fashion and a way of life. But as we all grew up to adults, the last one finished living at home, she passed away.
Did she?
So it was like she fulfilled her duty and her mission.
Her mission in life,
purpose, yeah.
Wow.
So
beautiful.
And that kind of transitioned to me in my life too, because I'm always taking kids and raising them.
Sure.
And I raised my own kids. I have 5 biological children, and one, my daughter. She passed away. She was 21, and she was pregnant. She was getting ready to get married, and she got leukemia, and she ended up in 2014, February 19, 2014. She passed away from leukemia.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So but I raised her sisters, her younger sisters, because her mother and I, when they were children, we separated and went our ways, and then she went on and remarried and had more children, and so the father wasn't in their life, so I ended up taking their them and raising them as well. Yeah.
So you carried on that tradition from your grandmother, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
wow, that's amazing.
A lot of people that I mentor, their kids call me uncle or brother, or a lot of other people call me nephew. So
that's
I made a good relationship in that extended family and a community.
Yeah. Now, when you say you were raised, your upbringing was traditional, what I love about you that you've brought to my life and to so many is the beauty of the rituals from your peoples, the dancing and the music and the singing and the language. It's so beautiful. And clearly the healing element that you're talking about for your grandmother that was present. Is that what you mean when you say pretty traditional for people from your tribe? Is it encompasses all of that cultural richness, and you were taught all of that as you were being raised?
Yes. Everything about and the cultural aspect and tradition aspects, just traditions that are passed on in a spiritual or a manner that is a cycle of flourishing. Like, you take what you need, and then so it can grow back again, and then you learn what they teach you of why we use these certain things in our lives. And like sage, for instance, we go out and pick sage. We have respect for it. We give an offering, take what we need, and we cut it. And the sage is, people just think of it as just using it as a smudging to cleanse the area, the mind, the heart, the body, and the spirit. But it's also scientifically proven an antibacterial, naturally.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So when I was growing up, I would see the grandmas or the men doing sage baths, they'd rub balls of sage like this, and they'll rub their whole body. And then when you rub it, it breaks up those terpenes in there, and it makes that smell really strong of menthol. So it kills all the bacteria.
Oh my gosh!
So
wow!
So it's like taking a bath.
Oh, how nice!
And you can use it in water and wipe this table off and kill all the germs on it naturally. It doesn't affect you. So those are kind of things that I was brought up with and taught with, and so I just use them in my everyday life today still because they're so important. People don't realize how important those things are in human life because we forget these things in our lives, and we're starting to see the effects of synthetics in our lives and affecting everybody. So today, I carry those traditions on, whether it's music or dance or storytelling or the language or planting crops, medicine, or looking for medicine or helping people, counseling people. So all these things I use as a philosophy, as a teacher as well, to carry on and to continue to help people because it's a natural flow on this earth of life. And so when it's natural, humans are natural, so you use that naturality to help each other.
Very organically.
So when we insert synthetic in it start to affect us.
Definitely.
And then that's when people start getting sick and things happen in life.
Right.
So that's what I use today, and I still use them. And they're still very powerful and very effective. And I use these teachings as well to help people in their rites of passage in life as well.
Yes, because I think that's something that I find so beautiful about the culture that you've been raised in, is so many important ceremony and rites of passage that have kind of been lost along the way, that are so valuable for people as they go through various transitions in their life from one stage to the next, to the next, to the next. And pausing and making something beautiful out of that transition is something that I admire greatly about your culture and that you've brought to us so wonderfully. So thank you for that. Yeah. Now, I noticed that you said you were raised at Standing Rock, and of course, in the last few years, there was a lot of activity there. How did it feel for you to have your home base be such a place where people were gathering? I remember there was a time where there was media and people and such conflict. Was that? I'm sure that was heart-wrenching and yet challenging, and a great place to take a stand. How is that for you?
I looked at it as a learning opportunity in my life, and to see people actually coming together and seeing each other and why we need to do this. And it's just a philosophy of how I was taught and how this is teaching today's world. And I used to ask my grandma, what's the purpose of a tornado? And we would stand in certain places when one would be coming, and she would talk about it. And she would use her spiritual connection to talk to the tornado.
Oh, wow.
And so when I say these things, people right away, they start to analyze. And they use logic.
Sure.
And they forget that they forget about their belief, their faith. And so I asked her about that, and she said, those are God's teachers. Those are God's warriors, and they come to earth to teach us. And I said, well, how does that teach us? I said, because sometimes in different places around this country or world, people don't get along, or people forgot to see each other as human beings, as that we need each other. So these things, these warriors will come, and they'll teach us what we take for granted. And they'll come into a town and they'll just tear it up, maybe take lives, and it'll be devastating, and they'll leave. And people will see how important we are to each other then. And then we see each other as human beings.
Sure.
And then it brings people together to work together, to pray together. Maybe people forgot to pray, and that taught them how to pray again. Maybe people forgot to really see maybe they lived by down the road, their brother lived there, but they never went to see them because they got in a fight years ago over stupid stuff, and so this brought them things like that. Right. That's the philosophy that I was brought up with, this kind of stuff. So that's what what we talk about. Okay. And these things like that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So then tell us a little bit about, as you were growing older, how did you get into this beautiful work that you do today in our world? Tell us about your organization and its purpose and how you got into that.
Well, it is, man, I can go all the way back to, I remember. And one of the things that I really am gifted, my gift I recognize, and I love sharing it, is when I remember when I was in my mom's stomach. I remember those things. I remember when she was talking to people. I remember some of the things, the devastations that she went through, the traumas in life.
Wow, okay.
When I was in there. I
so
remember
prenatal memories.
Yeah, and I remember when she used to nurse me.
Oh, wow.
And then I remember the last time she nursed me. And that's when things went different. And I remember that. And that's when that memory stopped. And then when love came back in, the memory came back again. When I was a little boy, I was still like about 3 years old. So it's nourishing, and nourishing like that. So, what was the question again?
I was asking you about how you got into the work that you do.
The work, sorry.
That's okay.
I get right in. Well,
it's a beautiful memory.
Yeah. But, those memories like that, I bring all the way to today, and I use them today. But even though my life that I use, everything that I use, my philosophy and the teachings that I use, all come from the teachings and my own experience. And it also came through war. And it came through many deaths and sicknesses and tragedies and all these things. And it came through all of that. And I was faced with it when I came back from war, and I was losing my family because, I changed. And I was going through this healing process of PTSD. I was confused. I didn't know what was happening. So, I was confronted with it. And it was either it's going to make me or break me. I was live or die at that time. And so I went to, I was working, because I got injured, so I was just barely working part-time, and I was working in Black Forest by Colorado Springs as a carpenter. And I was driving back one night, and, I was so emotional, and I pulled over to the side of the road because I couldn't drive, and I had to get out, and I got out, and I got in a ditch, and I just started crying, and I was praying, and something needs to be done because I want to live. I want to live, and I don't want to be like this. And I didn't realize that. I was in the ditch for about 2 hours, and somebody picked me up. So I was like, wow. And right away I wiped my tears, and I stood up and I wiped my tears. I said, oh, thank you. And I turned around, and there's nobody there.
Oh.
So I got in a car, and I drove home, and a couple weeks later I had a dream. And in our culture, anybody's life, I guess, we call these spirit dreams. Mm-hmm. And these are prominent dreams that stick with you, that just stand out, that not normal dreams.
Yes, I had one last night.
Yeah. and the energy even stay with you that whole day, you know. Uh-huh. And this old man came to me. He said, I want you to prepare yourself from this time for 1 year. And then when that 1 year's time, you're going to go on that vision quest. There, we're going to come and talk to you. So that whole year, I prepared myself mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally, because you have to get ready for this, because you're going to go through a hardship. Mm-hmm. And so I went up there. I went there, and that whole year, I prepared all my things. I gathered a lot of things, and I went there. And a friend of mine put me up there. And the first day it was called Bear Butte, South Dakota. And they call it Matopaha, and that's where for generations many people went to pray. Okay. Different nations, different tribes, but the first day, that's when everything just you got to go through the process of, the thirst process, the hunger process. The hunger will subside, but the thirst, that's where the mental is the battle. And then the second day, that's when it hits. That's when everything is tested. Your faith, your anger, your patience, everything is tested at that time. Everything, your will, your belief. I started crying and pouting, arguing with God, everybody, making excuses to leave and because I was so thirsty by then. And
did you do any bargaining?
Yeah, exactly, everything. But all of a sudden, these butterflies, these little tiny butterflies, and there was hundreds of them just flying all over me, and I was watching them. And they were playing each other, and they were landing on me, and they were all over, and then they left. And then all of a sudden, all that memory and that war came back again in my mind. That war in my mind came back. And I was like, and then all of a sudden, these other butterflies, and they were bigger ones, hundreds of them, just flying all over, playing on me. And what I didn't realize is that they were there all day, hours. And to me, it seemed like just minutes.
Right.
And then my grandma told me a story. She said, those are God's warriors, she said one time. She pointed at one. But they were there helping me. They took my mind and everything. And then the third day came. And that's when I got up early that morning because I heard this bird singing. And it wasn't a normal melody. It was just started going into this tune. So I sat up and I'm like, man, that is such a beautiful song. I turned her and there was this branch sitting right here. And it was sitting right there. I could have reached over and pet it.
Just came in and...
Yeah.
Yeah,
so I was just sitting there, listening to it. And then I closed my eyes and that's when I went into the vision.
Oh, my.
And then, and the old man came and he stood beside me. He said, it's so good that you came. It's good that you came. He said, that was me in the ditch who picked you up. He said, that was me who came to you in a dream. He said, now I'm here.
Wow.
He said, it's good you came. And he said, I want you to look. And he pointed out. And the ground rose in the vision. So I was on this mountain. And the ground was rumbling and it rose to my level. And it was just dark. And silhouettes and dark. And there was this chaos. It looked like hell. And people were just... And despair, and he said, and he put his arm around me, he pointed, he said, look, he said, you people make yourself sick. He said, you people make yourself sick. In order for people to heal, people must be willing to sacrifice, willing to be pick sacred ways up. He said, because God on this earth has created many sacred ways for the people to use to help each other, but people must be willing to do it, to be willing to help each other do it, and pick each other up. That until then, nobody's gonna heal. He said, so you do that. He said, when you come down from this hill, I want you to go back to where you were born and raised. There you're going to find what you need. Because before I went up there, I said, my purpose here is to know my purpose on this earth.
Yeah. And you set an intention before you went. Yeah.
So, and then so when I came down on the fourth day, I was so happy, but I was so tired and exhausted. So I rested a day, and then I went back to Standing Rock. And there I found I talked to people in despair, and friends and relatives, and that's all they shared was despair. And it was so suicide, alcohol, drugs, addictions, crime, all that, prison, jail, all of that. And it was so devastating. And then so my brother still lives out there, so I was out there, and I went into another dream, and that bird came again, and he asked me if did I understand what I did, why I was there, why these people talked to me, did I understand? He said, did you see it? And I said, I can't see it. He said, did you see it? I said, no. He asked me 4 times that, and I didn't realize that it wasn't here. It was here. And so then I realized, yes. And then that's when they showed me this way, this place of Lakota Way Healing Center. And the reason why I call it Lakota Way Healing Center is because it came from a Lakota way.
Right.
This culture is Lakota. If it came from the Navajo or Arapaho way, then it would be named that.
Sure.
But it came this way, so that's why I named it Lakota Way. And the healing center, people always say, well, we want to go to your center, we want to see your center. And I said, and the reason why I named it that is the center is here, in you. And that's what it means. It doesn't mean a physical building.
Right.
It means here.
Right.
Because that's where we got to heal.
Right.
That's what we got to heal. And so I teach people that. And I use these philosophies to help people to understand their true beauty and meaning of life. And that you can't give up when things get hard. You have to keep pushing on and that's why I work with veterans. I work with veterans a lot. So I use this philosophy and these teachings to help people believe in themselves again, to pick them up. And so I had to go through that in order to be here because this wasn't my life. My life was, I wanted to make a lot of money, have a nice house and car. Sure. And so I was going to be an engineer. I wasn't going to school to be an engineer or a lawyer. I was going to be one of them. But I went to be an engineer. So I was going to school for that. Then, I started school in 2005. And that's when I was going through all that stuff. And then when I came down from the Vision Quest, my whole life changed. So it wasn't going that way. So the Creator grabbed me like this and said, well, this is your purpose now. You asked us.
Get on the path.
There you go.
Right.
So everything I do in my life, I live by that.
Yes.
I live by that vision that gave me. I live by it. So I went to school to go be a counselor, to be a psychologist.
Oh, great.
But the way that I went, when I started going to college, I was in college for 7 years, and so the philosophy that I was going in, it was conflicting with my philosophy, with the natural philosophy that I used. Yeah, it was a Western, cultural counseling aspect. And when I sat down and I looked at everything in my life and how I can use this to help people, and I started seeing, I said, okay, I want you to teach me. Teach me what you want me to help the people. Creator, your warriors, bring them, tell them to teach me. And so one of the warriors that came was the fire. And I talk about this. The fire is one of God's warriors. And
like the tornado, right? Yeah.
And the fire is one of our greatest teachers and a philosopher. And so one of the teachings I bring, I tell people, I say, all right, I'm going to teach you. They want to learn about these ways. I said, so we're going to teach you about the fire first. I'm going to teach you that fire you're going to be your philosopher, your teacher. And I'm going to only teach you how the protocol is to respect it. From there, the fire is going to teach you.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
because I can't teach you what it could teach you.
Right.
I can only tell you how to respect it. So these are the protocols to respect the fire. First, you must respect yourself. And then you go and you give that respect of yourself to that fire. And that fire is going to understand, because we are spiritual beings, both of us, the fire and us. So we use that kind of connection with that the thought and the emotion. And as soon as it hits, it sends that wave, those frequencies to it, and the same thing to us.
Sure.
And then you feel emotion.
Right.
And when I talk about emotions of these things, people right away, they live in their minds in linear and logical thinking all the time. So I say, okay, I'll express, I'll show you, I'll even give you an example of an emotion of this world. And so I'll say, okay, early in the morning or at night and evening, you see a sunset or sunrise. And you see it, and it hits you in a certain place where it just hits you like, oh my God, and you feel just that emotional run through you. That's the feeling of the earth. That's Mother Earth giving you that feeling. And right then and there, I tell people, I want you to wish and hope that millions are also sharing that same emotion.
Beautiful.
So that's what I'm talking about, the fire. I said, this fire can make you a good hunter. It can make you a good provider. It can teach you patience, and it's definitely going to teach you to be a hard worker and to be strong. But if you disrespect it, it's going to leave you cold.
It's going to burn you.
And burn you, yes. So you have to understand that.
Right.
So that's how the teacher is going to teach you. That's how it's going to teach you. But how it's going to teach you, it's between you and the fire.
Beautiful.
So that's the way I teach.
Okay.
And you can't learn that from Western philosophy.
No.
Because there you connect the whole body, mind, all the way from your bottom of your feet to your hand, and you connect everything you feel. But in that kind of, it's only logic. Right. And they don't want, and it feels unnatural to me. So that's the struggles that I had in the colleges that I was going to.
Sure.
And I had some confliction with some of my professors, but a lot of them really understood me and understood that. But what I also understand is that kind of education, a lot of education are stuck in a construct.
Yes.
And so
sure.
I don't teach that way. And so people, when I teach people, I said, if you want me to teach you, I said, not me, this way is going to grab you and it's going to pull you out of that construct.
Right.
And sometimes people don't like that.
No, I'm sure.
They want to go back in because that's their safe haven.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's what they're used to, for sure.
Yeah, so I tell people these things, and I share these things with people. And so that's the philosophy and how I use this kind of work and how I use it to help people. But I got to live it too. I got to make sure I live it first.
Of course.
Because I don't do it for show.
Yeah,
I do it for healing.
Yes.
I do it for people's lives.
And it's your life purpose. And so the kind of people that you've supported at the Lakota Healing Way Center have been people who have struggled with mental illness of some sort, or PTSD, like you say, people who are veterans, and people who are homeless, and addictions, suicidal, that sort of thing. Yeah, for many years now, huh?
Yeah. And you know, it's my purpose. So no matter how poor I am and how I run it, the Creator provides.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have no money in the bank or in my pocket, but I'm going to take care of these veterans somehow. And something happens. And then I'm able to help them. I'm able to do stuff. Or a homeless person, our family. And so I just all I got to create is the vision that myself and this way of life. All it says is just keep moving. Just keep moving. If you keep moving, everything's going to be provided.
Right.
It's our humanness that holds us back.
Yeah, definitely.
So what I've learned about that is to not put filters in front of me. because those filters are something that has been taught to us.
Right, just to trust.
So I just manifest it, and when I get it, then I give it share it. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, so that's how I learned to do that stuff. It's beautiful.
How did you and Mile High come together? Was that through you meeting Dr. Patty mostly at some point, and how did you meet Dr. Patty Luckenbach?
Well, it was years ago from an elder man. His name was Charles Barrow, and he was a community member here. And he knew Patty and Dr. Patty and Luke, and so we went up to their place and they had a sweat lodge up there. So we went up there and we participated in it, and I just went there to support. Mm-hmm. And I met Luke and Patty there, and then Luke said he needed some help as a carpenter. So I said, "Yeah, I'll help you." And I need a job anyway, so he hired me on, and then. He went on. I found another job in a different place. He just carried me until I needed to, and he helped me in that way. So that's how I met them.
Oh, great!
And from there, we just and we knew other acquaintances. Like she knew another elder man. His name was Howard Badhand. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I know Howard is a good friend of mine. So they knew each other. And then we participated, me and Howard, in doing a ground blessing here.
Okay. Yeah.
For this new building, and then from there, it just became
blossomed.
A good.
Okay.
Exactly. It blossomed into such a beautiful relationship with us, and Mile High has been like I don't know how to say, big brother, big sister to us, and really helped us and carried us and loved us and really seen our mission, and so that's really important to us. We need that, and so they pulled us out, and a lot of I reached out, can you help us? And they pulled us out in a lot of financial situations, and I'm so grateful for them.
That's wonderful.
And, I can't thank them enough. I'm so all the community people is so beautiful, because I'll be on a community and somebody will say, hey, look over, and there'll be a community member and they want to hug and start talking. Yeah. So everywhere. I mean, I was like in Parker one time and I seen somebody hug me. I'd say, wow, it's good to see you.
Mile Highers are everywhere, aren't they? Yes. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. So,
and I know one of the things that we started doing a few years ago was a fundraising event that we have coming up here in a few weeks. For the Lakota Healing Way, so people can join us for that. So if you're interested, go to the Mile High website at milehighchurch.org, and you can get a ticket and come and support the wonderful work that you're doing. So thank you so much for taking this time and sharing so much of your journey with us. Is there anything else you want the world to know about this work or to consider as we complete our time together today?
Well, I'll share this with you. One of the things that I've learned in my life and this purpose through everything I've been through and seen and felt and heard and tasted and dreamt of, I've learned that we're all a part of the Creator's, the source. Creator is the source. We are part of that source. We're all a part of that. And we're all making our way to that source. And the Lakota way, they say water runs south, and we're all going there. And they say in a lot of universal beliefs is that's a spirit door. South is a spirit door. So everybody's going. We're all making our way towards that, and we come together. We create rivers and creeks and lakes, and we're all making our way that way. But we're gonna come across obstacles in these ways, but together. And if you see us together, you see water together, we're together. Even though we come across obstacles, we do it together. And that's how we have to live our lives, together as human beings, because we're all part of the source of the Creator. And we all want to use that source. And we also remember that, our elders and our children, we always have to remember the future and our past to keep balance on this life and to understand. And when you create relationships, extended family, they become your true family. We create spirit blood. It's a spirit blood connection that sometimes could be stronger than physical blood. But that's how you think and that's how you believe. As we talk about the mind and the philosophy of logic and the philosophy of spiritual. And you bring that thought and that emotion together, it creates a powerful impact in life. And so I want to share that to people, to understand, to believe in yourself, that we can do that.
Yes.
For each other.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Doug.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us today, everybody. What a great time. Yay. See you soon.
Yeah.